Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Chet Landry, joined by Doctors Jim and Janine Fox and Angie Cowan. Good morning, ladies and gents.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning. We're good.
Great. You can ask questions about today's subject, which is making wellness a priority.
Yes. And we have to think about conventional health. We call it health care in the United States, but it's really not health care. It's sick care. And so
Symptom management.
Symptom management, correct. So what we're trying to do with our wellness approach is, and what we've done for years, is try to keep you away from that sick care. Mm-hmm. If you can do something to avoid being in sick care, then you've done extremely well. And the longer you can stay away from sick care, the better off you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. I feel like should be the goal for all
it is.
Right?
I think everybody wants wellness.
Yeah.
And so
who wouldn't want wellness?
I feel like the easy answer to this question is just watch what you eat. But the getting on the train to better overall wellness could mean a laundry list of things, not the least of which is complete lifestyle overhaul. What are some of the things that we're doing that we can change to get on that path?
Well, there's a lot of things you can change, but the first thing you need to know about wellness is, okay, where am I? Am I well, or do I have a problem? And the best way you do that is do some lab work, which is something we've been specializing in, where we'll do a deep dive into the lab work, find out if there's a problem or is there a potential problem. There's the key.
We look for also problems coming.
Yes.
It doesn't have to already be blown up. It doesn't have to already be extreme. We look for things that might be coming, and even some things that look like they might be genetic in you, and things that might be increasing your heart risk, and things like that. And it's not just about how many people have been to the doctor, and their doctors say, well, it's just you're getting older. And they say, all your stuff looks fine. And then they bring it to us, and I'm like, well, it looks okay. They didn't check much. Mm-hmm. And I say that a lot, because you look at what they bring in, and it's not much. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you don't check it, you don't find a problem. And so that's why we do a lot more lab work, and we dive a lot deeper, and it really depends on which panel you need, on what's going on with you and your family history and things like that. And you're never too young to start looking for those genetic factors that can affect you later in life. We have a lot of 20-year-olds now coming in. So the good thing is a lot of the young people are being proactive. Mm-hmm. And they're coming in saying, I want to do the cardiac panel. I want to see what might be increased now to prevent it while I'm young. And that is a great idea. But it is never too late to get wellness. We have a lot of people coming in their 80s that say, well, my doctor just told me I was old, and I don't want to take that as what I've got to live the rest of my life. And we can help those people too. So you can help people get well at any age.
Do you think those younger populations are coming in not just because they know there's issues in their family, but because they're so aware now of all of the things that are in our environment that's helping us to not be so well?
Well, and there's a lot to that, where the folks that coming in, they understand these forever chemicals. They understand the packaged processed food problem. So, yeah, I think there's a lot more of their being aware.
I think people are getting sicker younger as well.
Yes, and that's true. Mm-hmm. That's probably true. A key. They're getting sicker younger.
We now have so much information available. People are like, okay, I'm not going to accept that this is just normal. I mean, that's how I got into this field, age 14, had anxiety and inflammation. And they said, you're fine. Here's an SSRI and some anti-inflammatories and gabapentin. Well, that's not a good prescription for a 14-year-old for life.
Oh, no.
So you have to figure it out. But, going back, you said, is it just eat better? Is it just sleep better? Those are foundational things that everyone can do, and there's been so much misinformation about what eating good means and so forth. Right. There are certain genetic factors, like Janine said, that sometimes can have more propensity where you don't tolerate carbohydrates, or you have more of a cardiovascular risk, so we have to tighten things. But we can look at labs now and we can see dysfunction before you're in that range where it is an actual disease diagnosis.
Right. Exactly.
Which is what functional medicine is. Mm-hmm. So if you want that approach, definitely come see us. We have all kind of panels. Our panels start as low as 160, and they go up to as much as 350, but then you can add on some hormones and make it a little bit higher. We can check a lot. I mean, we have some people, when I say, I want to check everything, and we can check everything. And we can
very specialized tests as well.
We do. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of really good specialized tests. Mm-hmm. We have neurotransmitter tests.
Gut health.
We have stool tests and gut health. We have all kind of nutrient testing where you can tell every nutrient in the body, and is it getting into the cells properly? That's another really good test. So there's so much good testing that can go on. So, like I said, that's what we do. And we've done that for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then once you look at those tests, once you take those tests, you come back, take a look at the results. There's no charge for that. We're going to tell
No.
you what's going
Right.
on.
And we always
Did you
tell
need-
people, we have people that come in and do lab work, believe it or not, and they don't come back in to go over the results. I'm always like, it's free to go over your results.
That's the point.
You really want to come in and go over it. Yeah.
We talked about labs, getting your lab work done. Even your bone density scan is available.
Yes.
Yeah, now the bone density is something else that people really need to do at young ages. You need to know where you are, and you need to know what you can start doing young, because you don't want to wait until you have bone loss, and you don't want to wait until your insurance company will pay for bone density screening, which is either, I think, at 50, or if you
Later.
broke a bone multiple times, you don't want to wait for that.
I think it's later than that.
I think it's later than that. I mean,
65. I'd like to see
Is it
more,
yeah.
especially women in perimenopause, getting a kind of marker of where they are now, because 30s, 40s, that's easier time to build bone that's going to carry you
Yep.
in your 70s and 80s.
Yeah. And that's there's songs written about if the bones are good. Like, the
Yeah.
bones got to be good. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your bones, the bones of the house. Like, people will go in and buy a house. If the bones are good, you're set. You
Yeah,
want
in
to
our,
make sure.
in our bone density scan, just to kind of let people know, it's called a RIMS, and it is non-radiation, and you get instant results. So when you get it done, you get the results right after. So, and it's $195 for a bone density test, and we run specials on it occasionally, so kind of watch our website, and you'll see where it is.
So once you've done the lab work, the bone density scan, you've reviewed everything. Once we're there in the building, where do we start from there when it comes to, like, what do you have available there at Doctor's Nutrition that can help people get on
Well,
that?
I think it depends, when you start doing the lab work and bone density, and et cetera, whatever labs you do. The key is if you find an issue, you find a problem, all right, what's it going to take to correct that problem? How do we turn this around? Even if it's a genetic problem, okay, well, we use epigenetics to change that issue. So, okay, what do we need to do? And it's typically, there's a lot of, we use natural medicines, which are supplements. So a lot of people call them supplements, okay, vitamins, it's whatever. But if you're low, for instance, in B12, that's a vitamin. And a lot of people just say, oh, it's just a vitamin, no big deal. It can be a big deal. So you have to have it. And you want a quality product. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things. A lot of people go to the big box stores, buy stuff, not knowing, it says B12. Is it? And there's been some actual testing done in the past by some very reputable companies where they would just randomly go shopping and buy stuff off the shelf, take it to a third-party lab and say, tell us what's in it. And a lot of it came back that it wasn't what's on the label. That's the scary part.
Yeah, some of them had none of
Yeah.
the active ingredient. Now, also what you have to look at is fillers and colors and dyes and things.
Preservatives.
I have people bring me supplements, and I'm like, it has sodium lauryl sulfate as an ingredient in a pill, and I'm thinking, I won't put that on my head in a shampoo, much less would I swallow it. So you really have to look at what you're taking. And a lot of people don't. And over the years, we've had so many people where we do lab work. They take the supplements, they get it rechecked, looks so much better, and then we don't see them again for another year. And then we might recheck it, and it's back to where it was. And I said, well, are you not taking your supplement? Well, yeah, I just bought them somewhere else. Like, well, obviously you're not getting in it what it says on the bottle. So we see it daily because so many people go somewhere else to try to find it cheaper. And I always say you get what you pay for.
Sometimes the form of the vitamin's not appropriate. I'll straight tell patients those are the cheap, dirty B vitamins. You don't
Exactly.
want those. They actually can cause more of a problem
Right.
than an absence of them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, in addition to the big box stores, there's you can find these things online. And if you're going through social media, it's a lot easier for someone to say, I'm going to go here and get these here, because now you've got video. We all know we're on television now. Video is king. And if you're listening to somebody go through a testimonial, whether it's accurate or not, of how this helped, it's easier to there's so much of it online right now. Because we have this show. We talk about this all the time. My phone hears what we're talking about, so it feeds me this stuff all the time. So it's easier. It's not so much getting them in the big box store right now. It is still a thing, but it's just so easy to just get what you need on the phone, push a button, and it's at your house in 2 days.
Yeah, and there's been so many scams online where they could actually steal like our
And
identity.
sometimes they actually copy products, and it's not even the product that you think it is.
Yeah.
That's what I think is crazy. They
That's
make it look
scary.
exactly the same. I don't know how they get by with it, but they do.
I was going to say, and they get through the loophole.
I don't know how, but they do.
One of the reasons I really love working with y'all and in the store is that they have had the privilege of working in the community for 30 years, and they see what works and what needs to be on the shelf and what doesn't have a place there.
Right.
So I can feel very confident in the curated collection that you all have made.
Now, if it works, a lot of people come in asking for the latest fad that they've seen on Facebook or something somewhere, and if we've used it and found that it didn't live up to its reputation, we don't keep it. Why would I want to sell you an
Over the
inferior
years,
product?
we've read research on things that says, oh man, this sounds so good, and we try it, and it doesn't do what the research kind of said it did. So we don't use it anymore. So it's kind of like if we can't change lab work, make people healthier, make it where they're spending their money and making a difference, then we don't usually keep it.
Yeah,
of
course.
So once we've had the supplement conversation, we're moving in that direction. We also have to look at that lifestyle diet
Definitely.
change thing, because it's like we've said this 100 times. If you're going to the grocery store, you want to stay on the perimeter.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, if you do nothing else but get off of packaged processed food, I mean, that'd be a start. Now, there's no doubt most people have too much sugar in their diet.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely things that need to be cut out. But if you just got off of packaged processed food, you'd be making a big jump start to wellness, because that is part of the problem.
And it is the easiest but hardest thing, because the food companies are really good at making us addicted to them. And I just explained to patients, it's not that you have to have a deprivation mindset. It's you have to outsmart these companies that are profiting off you being sick.
But it says that it's sugar-free and gluten-free and sin-free. But I noticed that it's good on the shelf for 3 years.
Yeah, and sugar-free.
Exactly.
The bad thing is sugar-free tends to have artificial sweeteners.
Tons of it.
And
more than one.
And they are
More than one, right.
terrible for the brain.
Got
and
it.
everybody's talking about brain health nowadays, because the brain decline is huge. And we're seeing more and more dementia, Alzheimer's, and problems with people's brains. And the artificial sweeteners definitely contribute to that. So don't just say, well, this says sugar-free. Because if it says sugar-free, it's got something else in it that you shouldn't have. Again, it's packaged and processed for it to say that. If you get vegetables, fruit, meat, stuff like it, don't have a package. Actually, it don't tell you that. Don't say
food.
sugar-free.
Yeah,
Right.
An apple doesn't come with an ingredient list.
Right.
It's an apple.
Right.
Same thing with broccoli or whatever. Cow doesn't come with this is
Meat.
this is meat.
Meat.
What is what's cow ate?
Although they might should, because
They
some of
probably
the meat
should. Okay,
that's
all right.
out there, you hear of some of the stuff they put with it, it's kind of scary too.
That's true.
Well, but you also don't. Yes, to your point, it doesn't say what we fed the cow.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't say what we
should.
injected into the cow. It doesn't
should.
say any of these
Which
things.
should.
Getting off of packaged processed food and even going organic would even be a big step to eating better.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. 20 years ago, not so much, but there's a lot more of that available now. It's more readily available.
Right.
Benefits of exercise, sleep hygiene, stress management. Those are all, one can lead to the next, can lead to the next.
Definitely.
But these are all very important
Foundation.
pieces of the
Hugely.
pie.
They're
Hugely
very important to wellness and getting to that well state. You have to sleep well, you have to move, and everyone needs to control their stress. I think we could all agree that we see a lot of problems
And you
with
have to
cortisol.
hydrate.
Yeah.
Hydrate is a big piece of this
Hydration's a
as
big
well.
one too.
Well, that's a big part of like you exercise and so on. If you exercise, you need to hydrate. Make sure you're hydrated. And so, but we see an awful lot of those three things: the exercise, the sleep, and then stress management. That's probably the majority of what we hear, or what we try to deal with people is those things. Get them to move, because if you're stiff, it's going to show. And you're not going to have good joints. If you don't move those joints, that's what joints do. If you move, they lubricate, they get better. Same thing in sleep. My goodness, sleep is probably one of the big issues that we
It's a
get.
big problem,
So many-
and some people don't sleep well. And if you don't sleep well, you definitely need help trying to get better sleep. And like I said, go through the steps of the wellness that we've talked about. Come do the lab work. Go over your lab work. Find out what you need to change. Eat better. Start moving. And then you will probably sleep better if we fix a lot of the underlying problems on the lab work. So then you're on your way to wellness.
And then stress. I mean, heart attack is one of the leading killers in this country, and stress-related heart attacks are one of the leading types of heart attacks. And
Yes.
it's like we have to be able to manage that, and it's a big piece of it. There are labs for that. You guys have ways to find those. You have ways to combat that. Great exercise. Just exercise. It has to be great. Just break
Yeah.
a sweat. Exercise, sleep.
Anything.
All of those things can lead to.
So come talk to us and we'll figure out which panel is best for you.
We have a couple of questions. Do you have blood tests like Cancer Guard?
Yes.
Yes, we use
go
one
ahead.
called Gallery.
And we've had a lot of experience with it.
We have.
A lot of experience, and we've had a lot of experience with it being right on the money. I mean, like dead on, so to speak. I hate saying
And
that
when
word.
comparing, I've compared the test out there, and a gallery to me looked like the one with the most accurate results.
They've probably been
That's
doing it
one
long
reason why. Now, it is not a cheap test; it's about $850, but it is a great test, and it looks for cancer pretty much anywhere, and it will give you what they call a signal, and that signal then will tell you where the signal is coming from. You still have to go look, because there's not a 100% test out there, but it is a really good test.
Strong family history, weird symptoms that
Right.
aren't showing up in blood panels, a great option.
Right.
Okay. Are Amazon products, vitamins, medicines, safe to use? I don't know about medicine on Amazon, but vitamins.
Pharmacy.
They've got their pharmacies now.
Do they
yeah.
have
Do they?
pharmacy?
Yeah, they've got pharmacy. Yeah, I mean, they're regulated like any pharmacy is. So
Pharmacy's probably more regulated than the
Than
supplements.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Actually, you're better off
when you
there.
hear of sometimes people copying stuff, that's where they go to sell it, is on Amazon. So you don't know. Some of it out there might be great, and some of it out there might not. So
I'm sure
that's
I've seen
a hard
some-
question to answer.
I've seen some really good products on Amazon, people selling it on Amazon. And so you don't know, I mean, hopefully it's real. That's one of the issues we have
It
with
says
Amazon
it on the
now.
bottle that it's
Says it on the bottle, yeah.
lab tested.
But that's the key. There's some great stuff there, and then there's some not so. The problem with it is, and this is where something like what we do comes in. If you buy a product from Amazon, who are you going to complain to? AI at Amazon? I don't think so. If you've ever tried to return anything through Amazon, you're dealing with AI. So you're not going to get very far. If you got something, if you go through our process, do some lab work, find out what's going on. We go through all the steps, and we recommend something for you. Then you're going to come back to us and say, hey, this is working. And we're going to be able to do some follow-up stuff, like follow-up.
Or if you have questions, can this do this? Is this
Right.
causing this? We're there to answer your questions.
Right.
We're really not there to answer your questions on Amazon products.
No.
We're here to answer questions on what we sell at our store.
Right. And it doesn't cost anything to come in and ask questions.
Nope,
No.
it's free.
And there's always somebody there to answer questions.
Yeah. Yes.
That was one of our big concepts when she and I started this 30 years ago. To me, if you don't have access to talk to somebody that's knowledgeable in your medicine or whatever, then you're an outsider. And you don't have any inside loop, and you really need that ability just to talk to somebody and ask, because we get some crazy questions sometimes. People, they've seen something on Facebook or wherever, and they'll ask, okay, is this safe to do, or is that just what I should do, and we're there to answer those kind of questions. Help them say, look, if you've got that kind of concern, this is the steps you need to take. If you've got that kind of concern, we're going to guide you.
And those first couple of steps are going to be to get in and get your lab work done.
Yeah.
No, but I tell people the truth.
That's how it should be.
I do. I don't, gloss over it. I'm like, okay, if you don't change this, you're going to get sick.
Right.
I mean, it's coming.
It's coming.
Or
And
you're
I've
already
had-
sick and you just
and
don't
I've
know
had
it.
many people over the years that didn't listen, and they called me back later and said, you know what, you were right. It was coming. I said, yep, it was.
Yeah, it's important to get that.
It is.
You have to.
Knowledge
So-
is power.
It is. Again, and everything we're telling you, it's better than the alternative. It's better to be upright and moving than have to sit there taking medicine or whatever the alternative is. Making sure that you're getting ahead of the game is probably key here. So